Hello, this is Denton Yoder, instructor for bse-2304, the Biological Systems Engineering CAD class. This is lesson 5, and I'm going to talk about dimensioning. So I have a few objects on the screen, and I plan to dimension them. I plan to also dimension them at a couple different scales. The idea is that I can print them at a 5 scale or at a 10 scale, either one, and they'll print just fine. Okay, the way to do that, I'm going to start off by setting up different layers for my dimensions. So I have a dimensions layer, but I'm going to make a couple new ones. New one, dim 5, new one, dim 10. Go ahead and make another new one. I'm going to make a dim ordinate. Okay, so they're all dim layers. They just have different names. They have all the same settings. Okay, jumping into it. I'm going to go to the dim 5 layer. I'm going to make a new dim style. Before I jump into that though, let me type ST for style. I had some different size text set up for 50 scale, 100 scale. If I do a bunch of them, then I'll need a different one for every scale I'm using. If I want my dimensions to be more flexible, I can make a style that has the font with no height, and then the tool that is creating the text can control the height. So if you want, you can go into your dimension settings. Like here, I'm on a 50 scale one. Modify that. I could set my text font to be standard and then have the height be 0.125, and it should read the scale and produce the tall text automatically. So let me try that. 50 scale, give me a dimension from here to here, and it's great big 50 scale, big text. Okay, that all worked. But for real now, I'm going to make a 5 scale. So I'm going to go into the dimension styles, and I'm going to say give me a new one and call it 5 scale. 5 scale is going to be scale of 5. Now I actually don't have to change the text because I'm using a font that does not have a height. It'll automatically use my 1/8 inch setting in my text height settings. Okay, so that's an interesting one. If I want to make another new one, I can make another new one, call it 10 scale, and save the primary units, the fit, to a scale of 10. Okay, so now that I have those two styles created, I can just select whichever one I want to use, and then I'm ready to do my dimensioning. I'm on the right layer, I have the right dimension style, horizontal dimension, give me a dimension here, here, where's the text go? Bam. I'm going to hit enter to repeat the previous command, and I can starting point, end point, and pick the location. If you noticed, it's snapping to the endpoint automatically. That's because I have my object snaps on. If you haven't learned your object snaps yet, you really want to. If you right click on the object snaps, you can tell it which things to snap to. Okay, so give me a linear dimension, here, here, put the height right there. There's a nifty one called continue and baseline. Continue means continue to the next point, which will let me use the starting point from my last endpoint and the height automatically to just click where it goes and keep going. I only was doing one, so it's not that exciting, but it makes it easy to do. If you don't use continue, let me delete that, you can easily snap to the same start point, snap to the end point, and then snap to the arrow to get it to line up. Now you typically want an overall on the whole thing. Of course, that would match the one on the bottom. So really, I just don't need that dimension because it's all dimensioned on the top. I do need the diagonal dimension, however. I can do a vertical dimension on the vertical line, and you can see, okay, there's 15 here, and this is 20, that's 15, that means there's 5 there. If you want to dimension that, though, you can. I want to dimension from here to here, and put it over here on the right, snap to my arrow to line it up. And if I put the total there, I wouldn't need the other one. But anyway, that's a scale of 5 dimensions. Now, if I want to do scale of 10, all I have to do is set myself on dim 10, and I can freeze or turn off the dim 5s. Now I'm ready, once I click scale of 10, to do some dimensioning. Dimension, click, click, where does it go? Enter to repeat, click, click, where does it go? Continue to there, enter, linear dimension, bam, bam. If you want that diagonal dimension, the second dimension is called an aligned dimension. An aligned dimension uses the angle of your two picks to define the angle of the dimension. We also have arc dimensioning, ordinate dimensioning, radius, a jogged radius dimension, okay, diameter, angular dimensioning. We talked about baseline and continue. It goes on. Leader is probably another one that you'd want to mess with, which I don't even see it yet. But anyway, jumping into it, if I had an arc, the arc dimension would let you select the arc and label it. So it's giving you the arc length. If you do an angle and you click the arc, it's giving you the degrees of the arc. Also, with angle, you could grab two lines, and you could say, I want this dimension, or I want this dimension, or I want that dimension. So you can pick what you want to show. Okay, so that's an angular dimension. On a radius, you pick the object, and then you pick where you want the text to go. This one's too small to fit inside, so I'm going to move it outside. It puts a center mark to mark the center for the radius. If you do a diameter, same thing. You can do the inside like that as well. Instead of an R for radius, it shows a diameter symbol on that one. These are the same circle. One's labeled a radius 5, the other's labeled a diameter 10. Okay. You can also do a linear dimension, hit enter, and pick a circle and mark the width of a circle. So I can do a linear or a radius or diameter. Technically that's the same as the diameter, but anyway. Okay, so if I want to turn those off, I can switch to the ordinate layer and turn off the dim 10s. Okay, well I wouldn't have had to because I could ordinate over here. Yeah, let me leave those back on. But I probably don't want the 5s on because it would get really messy. But they're the same values. It's just different settings. Actually, I'm going to long-term store that one. Freeze it. Okay, ordinate. Ordinate works based off of 0, 0. So if you leave 0, 0 in its original location and you're doing a state plane coordinate system on a civil drawing, you could leave 0, 0 where it's at, and you're labeling northings and eastings with ordinate dimensioning. The way machinists use it is they set 0, 0 to a spot. So what we'll do is a UCS, and we'll pick the corner and hit enter, and that will move X and Y to a specific location. I'm also going to turn on my ortho. Oh, it's on already. Okay. When I hit ordinate dimension, what it will do is let me snap to the corner of a line. Enter to repeat. I'll just hit enter with the keyboard. And then you can label the heights by dragging horizontally. Now, if you have things that are close to lining up but don't quite, you can turn off your ortho to go crooked, and it will bend the line. That way you can label things that are close to lining up but not interfere with the text. So that is called an ordinate. To put the 0, 0 back where it belongs, UCS, and an extra enter for world coordinate puts it back to where 0 is supposed to be. We just did dimensioning. We did multiple scales of dimensioning and different types of dimensioning. Something else with dimensioning, when you get into 3D, you may want to do a top, front, side, isometric angle. You might do different types of dimensioning. If that's the case, you probably also want to use different layers. When we get into printing in paperspace, every layer, every view can show different layers. So in the top view of our drawing, we will just show the top dimension layer and freeze the others. In the front, we will show dimension front and freeze the top and the side. So we do want to separate stuff onto different layers just as a way to separate them when we print. All right. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.